IShowSpeed is one of the biggest streamers in the world. He's got 50 million YouTube subscribers. He's also just 21 years old, and he's known for being sometimes over the top or has been called out for some toxic online behavior before. But right now, IShowSpeed is on a massive 28-day live stream tour of Africa. Is it landing the way that he wants it to? Pablo The Don is here. Ivy Prosper is here. Amha is here. Hello, all of you.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. It's nice to have you here. This is a delight. Listen, Pablo, I'm going to start with you. Before we dig into the buzz around this Africa tour from IShowSpeed, I think it'd be useful maybe if you could just fill us in quickly on how he became one of the biggest streamers in the world.
Yeah, so Speed has been online for a solid like 10 years. He started streaming at the age of 11 back in 2016. He was huge on Fortnite and on NBA 2K, and his explosive growth kind of came from being a reactioner. He became like this global sensation through his erratic behavior online and really becoming like a meme. He has like quite a few iconic memes, but also clips of him barking at the camera, these extreme outbursts, and his obsession with Cristiano Ronaldo. The Siu reaction is huge for him. And then he transitioned from being a gamer to like this global entertainer. He was at the Royal Rumble back in 2024, and he had over 1 million concurrent viewers during his Southeast Asia tour. So he's one of the biggest streamers on the platform, alongside people like Kai Cenat and Aiden Ross.
We talked. I just mentioned a little bit that there's been some troubling aspects of Speed's online behavior the past few years, but also just that sentence, the idea that he's been streaming since he was 11 years old, has been doing this literally for 10 years. That's, I think, an important thing to keep in mind. But first, Matt, let's get into this. What prompted Speed to sort of start to do this tour of Africa?
Yeah, I mean, I guess from what I understand, this is essentially what he kind of does now. I mean, as Pablo was talking about, his online output, I think, started in a more traditional way, like the reaction videos, the video games. But at a certain point, he started to travel the world and document it. And meeting with, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but he went from barking in his room to meeting with foreign leaders and dignitaries, and that whole form of entertainment seemed to blow up pretty quickly. And yeah, he's done a tour of the U.S., he's done a tour of Europe, he's done tour of Asia, and I guess Africa was up next on his docket.
Just that again, like that idea of like, hey, sometimes you're just streaming in your room, and then before you know it, foreign dignitaries are saying, "Hey, can we have a meeting with you?" Ivy, you're in Ghana right now. How would you describe the energy surrounding IShowSpeed's tour?
Well, the energy is really high. There's so many people who are excited about him coming because they know that he's one of the biggest streamers in the world. And especially because Africans have a tendency to have a little bit of brotherly, sisterly competition between each other. So as Ghana's watching him going from country to country, people are like, "Oh, look what he did there. We can do better. Oh, look what he did there. We should do this. Oh, look in Nigeria. They said the jollof. No, let's do better." So they're excited. The Ghana Tourism Authority even, had wanted to make sure that they take care of him, because I saw a post that they did of, what they think he should do. There's a lot of people who are also making suggestions online. There's people I know who are creators and in the tourism industry that have all posted itineraries of what they think he should do. So overall, the sentiment is excitement.
Well, I was going to say, like, one of the things that he's been doing on this tour as he sort of goes on it is trying to figure out, like, what country in Africa has the best jollof rice. And I just want to play this clip where he's kind of like reached the verdict that he reached right after having some jollof rice in Nigeria.
I'm not going to lie. This was very good.
Say to them. Say to them.
Right now.
Right now.
So far.
So far. Say
Right now, so far, Nigeria has the best
Come
jollof rice.
Come on.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying, bro. I know you're from Ghana, but I gotta be honest, bro. I gotta be honest.
He's talking to a Ghanaian man and saying, "Sorry, man, I got to tell you that Nigeria has the best jollof rice." And it's kind of surrounded maybe by like a mob of people, and they're very excited that he's reached that particular verdict. How do you feel about this particular verdict, Ivy? How are you responding to that?
Well, I feel that he shouldn't have made a verdict before he went to the next country so that he can try it in Ghana as well. How can you say that you like one better than the other when you haven't even tried the other one yet? So that's what I say. But I also say Ghanaians and Nigerians keep fighting over jollof way too much, because we have so many other dishes that people can try and enjoy. So I hope when he comes, he takes an opportunity to try things like wache, try red, try some of these different soups. Just take advantage of trying everything, not just jollof.
I will say. Go ahead.
Sorry, if I might also suggest, Senegal needs to be added to this debate too. Let's leave that
For
there.
sure. I mean, Senegal is the brother who invented the dish and
Yes.
sits quietly watching his brothers fight with each other
Yeah.
for
Exactly.
no reason.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Speed was in fact in Senegal, and he was saying that the one that he had in Nigeria was better. Like that's how we actually got here, Matt. So it's not
That's true.
Yes, yeah.
But Matt, like there is a degree of theater to this, right? There's a degree of theater to this, like watching this whole tour unfold. But the last time that you were on the show, we were talking about the CBC docuseries For the Culture, hosted by Amanda Paris, and specifically about the episode about this rise of Black tourism and Black tourists from North America visiting countries in Africa and the Caribbean. Ivy is literally in that episode, I should say. Matt, I'm curious, when you see this theater, see Speed sort of doing this tour, what do you make of the buzz that is generating about just like, hey, this is what Africa looks like right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say. I think, like, first to say it, I find it fascinating. Like this is ultimately a kind of like influencer diplomacy. And there's no like non-political way for an American celebrity to travel to places like China, where he's been before, or across the African continent without understanding it in some way as a political project. And
You mean to say
moment,
there's definitely like a political sort of dimension to the tour itself?
Yeah, well, there has to be. I mean, right? I mean, the United States of America, the American government, Western culture has invested a lot of resources in depicting Africa on very particular terms, right? As like a place barren of history, as a home of a kind of uncivilized people that are desperate to move to the West. These are not stereotypes that exist for no reason. And what Speed is offering is a different view, right? And like that in and of itself is a kind of revolutionary thing, But what I have also found interesting is that Speed streams have revealed or like have caught some of these fault lines that are present in African life as well. Like, this kind of tension, the natural tension in some way that exists between those north and south of the Sahara Desert, and the different experiences and attitudes of Black Africans south of the Sahara and North Africans, right? And like he was subject, for example, to all manner of racist taunting and harassment in North Africa, and which seemed to catch him by surprise. But Black African people, many of which will have seen those images and saw evidence which corroborated their own experience on the continent in some way, I find that really interesting too. And I think finally the important thing to say here is that this format that he has cultivated kind of remarkably is, in my opinion, a kind of authoritarian's dream. I think that you have a 21-year-old kid from Cincinnati, Ohio, who is offering world leaders access to what is probably the largest dedicated audience their country has maybe ever had access to. And his sole interest is to display the very best that country has to offer. No difficult questions, no historical or political analysis, no skepticism, just kind of leisure and ambient viewing, right? And for like an authoritarian to be able to launder a controlled version or a controlled vision of their nation through this non-political form, which has not developed a way to be able to deal with that, is a dream. And like Africa is, we have genocides in Ethiopia, we have a genocide in Sudan, we have something like 10 successful coups in the Sahel for the last 5 years or so. We have more than a handful of autocrats in the continent today that have been in power for 30 or 40 years. We have a border war in Rwanda and Congo. We have a white genocide myth in South Africa that's being fueled by the American president. We have a similar genocide myth that was followed by U.S. airstrikes in Nigeria. That is the backdrop to Speed's visit. But watching these streams, you would learn none of it. So we have to hold both of these truths, that at one hand, the kind of depictions he's providing are important, but there's a lot, it kind of leaves a lot on the table.
Pablo, I'll get to you in just a moment, but I just wanted to sort of follow that up with Matt, because I'm interested in this idea, because one of the earliest clips that I saw of it sort of making the rounds online was, and again, I got to remind people, Speed is 21 years old. Hey, there's a fair bit of historical context that he may not necessarily have yet, but it was him in Algeria, and he, and the car was a convertible. He was kind of like driving around, and he said it kind of looks like France.
Yes, exactly.
And I was can someone get him a Frantz Fanon book right now?
Yeah,
because there are reasons why this sort of presents to you in this way, and those reasons are not going to pop up on the stream. Like there is no mechanism, right, for the politics that are always acting on the people that you're viewing to be represented on that screen. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah, like, that moment in one way reveals the limitations of the form and the
Yeah.
limitations of the central character, like the protagonist of these streams. But also it shows the beauty of like he's so close. He's
He's
so close to
right
getting
there.
it.
Yes.
And it also reveals the degree to which the best way to learn is to go and see for yourself, right? And that's ultimately what he's doing, right? I mean, to have him in Algeria saying this place looks a lot like France, that's a kind of colonial conclusion that he's reaching, right? He may not yet know it, but we're
Yeah.
all watching him and seeing this happen. So, there's a kind of beauty in that.
Yeah, it's a door. He can walk through it. Somebody else can walk through it, but the door does exist. It kind of go like, oh, someone just
Yes.
opened that door a little bit. Pablo, Black America's had this long history of sort of celebrating its African roots, but also leaning into maybe some of the really hurtful stereotypes of African people and their cultures. But there are some people who sort of see the Speed Tour as a way to maybe help disrupt some of those sort of long-held misconceptions. Where do you fall on that? Does this tour actually possibly do that, you think?
Yeah, I think, like Matt said, it is a huge misconception for Americans, especially Black Americans. And what we've been taught is kind of like everybody lives in mud huts. So, like, when people see highways and skyscrapers and like very developed systems, people are like, this is not what we know. But as Matt said, the only way to really know these things, because of how controlled like our media is for you to go over there and see it. And I do think Speed going does help. It does at least help his viewers, who are usually young, see that there's so much in the world for you to explore. And like you guys both said, but there's still a little piece that needs to be connected there to see how this came about, who has influenced some of these decisions, and like how these states got there, how these territories have gotten to where they are. But I do think Speed is at least cracking the door open, much like Kai Cenat is cracking the door open for people to crack open a book now. So I think while they aren't maybe like the best person at the helm to lead these conversations, them having these viewers is just opening the door for someone else to come and continue running with the ball, or for people to explore on their own, which is incredibly important when we have a literacy crisis in America where the average adult can only read at a 5th grade reading level. Like, these are things that are clearly needed.
The thing you're referencing, that story you're referencing, by the way, is Kai Cenat was recently on stream. He's sort of like he's picking up some new books, and he struggled with a word while live on stream. And then some people made fun of him. Spontaneity, that was the word. And then some people sort of made fun of him. And then the response to that was like, dude, he's trying to learn, and he's making a point of learning in public. Please let the man learn. Please let the man read. And he sort of displays that dimension of the conversation. Ivy, this is close to your work, right? Like, this is close to like the work that you do for a living. So your work sort of intersects Ghana's tourism industry and then also a lot of these tensions that we're talking about here. How would you assess the impact of Speed's African tour and the ways that it's kind of had all these like sort of like the negative perceptions that people have about visiting Africa from North America?
Well, what I first have to say is that Speed's tour, I don't want to be the person to say that he single-handedly is the person that is exposing the positive sides of Africa when it comes to seeing the culture, because this is work that I've been doing for over a decade. And there are creators on the continent who've been showcasing Africa in a positive way for the last decade. People like Wodemaya, Tayo Ena, who've been showing videos about Africa, traveling across 30 to 40 African countries. And there are a lot of people who've been influenced before Speed came. And I believe that these people, including myself, are people who laid the foundation for someone like Speed to even consider making Africa part of his tour. Ghana's Year of Return initiative that I was a social media manager for, much of the work that I did was capturing content of people coming to Ghana, arriving at the airport, people like Stevie Wonder, people like Ja Rule, people like T.I., all those people who came to Ghana, and I was the one at the airport recording when they got there, putting the content out there, and it influenced a lot of African Americans and Canadians and Caribbeans to come to Ghana. Ghana kind of led the way, and now there's other countries who are trying to do their own initiative. Like Kenya this year recently launched its own initiative called Journey Back to Eden. The Gambia was trying to do something as well. Nigeria has talked about doing something as well. So I believe that Speed, being in the space that he's in and having a team around him, definitely had a team that would have told him that there's already something happening on the continent that's showing people in the diaspora that Africa isn't what you thought it was.
Yeah.
And so I think it's great that they made him do this with the audience he has. It opens the door from the Gen X and older millennials who've responded to the earlier calls to now the Gen Zs being people who are really like, wow, because they really didn't know, even though they were born into the internet, they have access to Google anything they want, but they didn't Google to see what's happening in Africa. It took someone like IShowSpeed to show them what's happening on the continent of Africa. And I think that it's a really good thing what he's doing, because he's opening up this to a whole new generation of people to see that Africa isn't only about the negative things that Matt had gone through, talking about the different political situations that are happening, talking about the extraction of minerals that's causing conflict in some areas. The majority of the continent is actually a very beautiful place. Most of it is not conflict happening all the time. There's 54 countries, but there could be something happening in 10 countries, and those 10 countries will be the image that everybody thinks of the entire continent. So I'm glad that what he's doing is showcasing other things and giving people an opportunity to have these conversations about travel to Africa.
My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is Commotion, and I'm talking with Pablo The Don and Ivy Prosper and Matt Amha, and we're talking about IShowSpeed, the very popular online streamer who's currently doing a tour across Africa. Pablo, before I let you go, I just want to remind folks of the sort of conversation that we had earlier, which is like this idea, like, hey, Speed's been online for a long time. He's also been accused of some toxic online behavior. Do you want to just kind of like give the lay of the land of what that looks like?
Yeah, so Speed has had a couple of run-ins. As I said, he started when he was 11 years old. He's growing in front of people, and part of being a streamer is showing your entire life. So unfortunately, he's going to make mistakes on stream being that young. But for one thing, back in 2021, he was permanently banned from Twitch, which was later reinstated in 2023 for a viral clip that showed him basically harassing a woman participant in Aiden Ross's e-dating show, which a lot of people interpreted as coercion. He's also been someone who's been misogynistic. He was banned from Valorant and all Riot games after a clip went viral of him telling a woman to go do her husband's dishes. He's also had a history of doing some reckless stunts on stream, setting off professional grade fireworks within his room, and also accidentally flashing the camera a few times. So he's done quite a few things, and we've seen Speed make mistakes in front of our very eyes. But I think the important thing here is, again, streamers don't have kind of like what child stars had in the past of like, they may make a mistake, but they can go away. They can disappear. His life and his livelihood is made on this camera. And so because of that, he's going to make mistakes on this camera. And I think there is a space and place where, yes, there's room for correction of the behavior and calling him out. And I think that comes with the platform, no matter what you do. But again, he's young. He's 21. He is going to grow, and maybe this foray into these spaces and places is what's helping him develop as a man, truly, and as a person.
Matt, I'm of two minds about this. Number one, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, a 21-year-old learning but the basic fundamental tenets of colonialism, leave me out of it. Like I'll wait until later. You know, I think it's an interesting project to learn. I've also done my own learning, and everybody's sort of on their own journey about this. I don't know if this learning needs to happen in public. And on the other hand, learning in public is the way that other people also learn, right? Like when you are learning in public, other people learn through you because they make the same journey as you possibly. And so when you sort of see Speed grappling with all these things, this idea that he's been doing this since he was 11 and now he's 21, and like you're far from cooked at 21 years old. You're still sort of processing and figuring out all these ideas. Are you fundamentally interested in a project like this one, or are you kind of a little bit wary about where it might take you?
I mean, am I myself interested in it? Not necessarily, right? Like, am I watching these? No. But I think, when I hear that this guy has been doing this since he was 11 years old, what that likely means is that this is probably the only job he's ever had, right? And also that he has grown up through now, he is the product of America in like a really troubling, complicated time, right?
Yeah.
Trump twice. And he's growing up in this environment that is rife with misogyny and all kinds of violence and political incorrectness and, all kinds of things. And he's having to find himself through that. And so I see this as a kind of, as an attempt in some way by him or his now team to try to like develop the platform more and to kind of have him grow up a little bit, And while it isn't necessarily for me, I think that the fact that he is beaming these images onto the screens and into the homes of tens of millions of kids around the world and youth around the world at a time where, as Pablo said earlier, we have a crisis of literacy and curiosity. And, I find that to be really important. And, I may not agree with it at times. It may not, be for me, but I think there's absolutely a place for it in the marketplace. And if I had children, it'd probably be something that I'm curious about generally.
Yeah, and I think I feel that way too. That, like, if my kid was interested in watching this tour, that would be giving us a lot to sort of dissect and go like, hey, here's what I'm picking up. What are you picking up? And like, it would become like a text that you get to sort of like analyze together. Ivy, last word to you. Are you fundamentally interested in a project like this one? Or do you kind of go like, I want to keep track of where this goes?
Well, for me, he's not somebody that I was watching before. I only have been watching recently because of the Africa tour, because of my interest in Africa, because my whole mission is about changing the narrative of Africa for people to see it differently. So I'm interested in how he's portraying it, in who he's interacting with, because what he has done could lead to future marketing, future PR, and how to reach the next generation who may be interested in traveling to African countries. Because in order for the tourism industry to keep growing, you have to keep getting the next group of people, not only those who are coming now, but those who are looking to come and travel in the future. And so that's what my interest is in when watching what he's doing right now. And it's also an opportunity for us to see here on the continent where we need to work on certain things to make our tourism industry better, to make our tourism industry more attractive, and to make logistics easier for people when they do come and travel to the continent.
I really appreciate your time and your thoughts. This has been really wonderful. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming on the show today.
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you for
having
having us.
Thank you so much. Ivy Prosper is a cultural strategist and YouTube creator based in Ghana. Pablo The Don is a culture critic and part of those Wrestling Girls podcasts. They were in Springfield, Massachusetts. And Matt Amha is a journalist and culture critic based in Toronto. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This show is called Commotion. We'll see you tomorrow.